Good morning. It's Tuesday, May 21. This morning, I was in Psalms 87 through 90, and the verse I wanted to share on was chapter 90, verse 14. Psalms 90, verse 14. David here is speaking and he says, "Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days." Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. David had learned to come to the Lord in the morning, each day. It's interesting because he doesn't say here, "Lord, listen to my prayer. I got some things I got to bring before you. I got problems that I want you to fix. I got things I need." He does all that. All you got to do is read through the Psalms. You see David bringing things before God. You see David complaining a lot before God. But in this one verse, he says, "Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love." I've learned that when you just come and you spend time with the Lord each morning, and you just sit with Him, and you just kind of read through His Word, not necessarily study it, but just read through His Word and let Him speak to you, God becomes more than just the answer to every problem I need. He becomes more than just the person that fixes my problems. He becomes more than just the one that makes sure that I have my food and I'm able to pay my bills, and He becomes more than just the healer of my body. All those things He does because He loves us, but He becomes more than that. I begin to understand and to know that He truly loves me. Because when you just sit with Him, He just comes. And just like anyone that loves you, a husband and a wife. There's a time when a wife comes to her husband and she tells him, "Hey, can you fix this? Can you do this?" There's a time when a husband comes to a wife and says, "Can you take care of this? I have this need. Can you call these people today?" There's a time when, "Hey, honey, can you mow the lawn? What are we having for dinner tonight?" All those things are important. All those things are part of our discussion. But what makes the relationship between a man and a woman wonderful is they love one another, and they tell one another, and they spend time with one another, and they just enjoy being in each other's presence. Many times nothing even has to be said. So it's the same with the Lord. If you haven't learned just to sit in His presence, you're really missing out on something. Paul talks about, Paul prayed that the body of Christ would know the height and the depth and the width and the breadth of God's love. What was Paul talking about there? Did he mean, hey, I hope you understand that God will meet every need you have? He talked about that. Did he mean, I hope you understand that God can heal your body? He talked about that. But when he said that he prayed that you would know the height and the depth and the width and the breadth, he's talking about something that's just supernatural, something that you can't touch, something you can't not hold in your hand, but you can hold in your heart. Experiences with God where He just comes upon you, and you just know that you are loved. And when He comes in, His Spirit speaks into our spirit, and He tells us how much He loves us. Now, because He tells us that, He does things to show us he loves us, and those things are wonderful. But the things that God blesses us with are not near as wonderful as he is. So my prayer for us is that we'll learn, like David, to come to the Lord and say, Lord, I'm satisfied in the morning just with your steadfast love. I am satisfied knowing and being with you and having my existence in you and having your friendship. And just knowing as I sit here in your presence that you love me. Because those moments are way more important than just him providing for us. The fact that he provides for us is so important, and he does it because he loves us. But that cannot take the place of spirit to spirit, heart to heart, person to person. That God just wants to spend time with us, overwhelming us with his love. And then David says, satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. This is what brought joy to David's heart. This is what satisfied David. And all you got to do is read the Psalms. When he did not recognize this, when he did not spend time just being satisfied in God's love, he was as human as the rest of us. All he did was complain and murmur and gripe to God. But not when he was satisfied. That's my prayer for us today. We'll just spend time in God's presence, being satisfied in our hearts, in our spirits, in our souls, in our minds. Thanks for listening to me today.